two modes of execution. Interactive mode and batch mode. Second is like batch mode, interactive mode and batch mode. Here directly type Python. Here we directly type Python statements. We directly type Python statements on the interpreter and the user can easily interact. And the user can easily So we directly type Python statements on the interpreter and the user can easily interact with Python. Just if you want to increase the font, right? Options, configure ideally. Okay, it's already 20, right? Okay, 22 I mean. We directly type Python statements on the interpreter and the user can easily interact with it. Okay, advantage. Advantage of yesterday just I was saying about the interactive mode, right? At the bottom, the search panel, type CMD to enter into this command prompt. Go to the command prompt and just type Python and say enter. It will display the Python version. If you say Python, it will display the Python version. And these three arrow symbols you can see, right? Here you can type any valid Python statements and interact with it statement by statement. Okay. X value is 10, Y value is 5. What is X? What is Y? What is X plus Y? What is X minus Y? X into Y, X by Y, right? X plus Y, X minus Y, X into Y, X by Y, right? Okay. X to the power of 3. X to the power of 3 means 10 to the power of 3. Okay. So any valid Python statements you can type in, you can interact with it, right? Yeah, in this manner. So this is what interactive mode we say. With this, you cannot see in other programming languages. In Python, we got this interactive mode. Okay. Advantage of this interactive mode means, for example, if it doesn't know about any particular functionality, right? You can just type here and you can check what output it is going to return. To test the functionalities of Python, and to learn Python. To test the functionalities of Python and to learn Python. And as a beginner, as a learner, right, this interactive mode works better. So you can type any statement and you can check what output it is going to provide. For testing the functionalities of Python and to learn Python, and for developing code, this interactive mode works better. But for developing applications, right, this interactive mode won't be used. For developing Python applications, interactive mode won't be used. For that, go for batch mode. In the case of batch mode, here we write batch of statements. Here we write batch of statements. Within the editors or IDEs. Here we write a batch of statements within the editors or IDEs. Here we write batch of statements within the editors or IDs and save it by using .py extension. Save it by using .py extension, right? And later submit to Python and later submit this file and later Python. Writing batch of statements within the editors or IDs, save it by using .py extension and later submit this file to Python. IDE means integrated development environment. In real time, we use IDEs for writing Python, creating a Python file and executing, right? We go for IDEs, integrated development environment, right? We write batch of statements within the editors or IDs, save it by using .py extension and later submit this file to Python. What are the various editors? What are the various editors, right? Notepad. What are the various editors where we can write the Python code? Notepad, Edit Plus, Nano. So in the case of Windows environment, Notepad, Edit Plus you can use. In the case of Linux, VAR, Nano for creating a .py file. Okay. What are the various IDEs where you can write the Python code? Various IDEs. So for Python, we have got many IDEs, integrated development environment. So in real time, we use this IDEs, right? Like PyCharm. We have got many IDEs like PyCharm, PyDev, Komodo, Spider, yes, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter, Atom, VS Code. Sit here. Various IDEs: PyCharm, PyDev, Komodo, Spider, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter, Atom, and VS Code. Which is the mostly used? PyCharm is the mostly used IDE. PyCharm is the mostly used one, right? Among all this, PyCharm is the mostly used IDE for Python. And see here, you may ask why these many IDEs for Python? Why not one, right? So Python is used for different environments, right? Different environments it is used for data science, for networking, for animations, for GUI applications, for desktop applications, right? So wide varieties of applications. So depending upon different environments, different IDs are used. For data science, right? We use like Jupyter notebook, we say Jupyter notebook, we say Jupyter is used, Spider is used. Even for big data, Spider is mostly preferred, Jupyter is preferred. For typical web applications in Python, PyCharm is mostly preferred. PyCharm is mostly preferred, right? Okay. So this I'm going to show you how to download and how to execute your Python code on these various IDs. Step by step, how to download and how to install this and how to run your code. Your coding is not going to change, only that how to execute the environment is going to change, right? So these are the various editors within the notepad. Also, you can create a Python file and you can execute a Python file. Okay, now developing the first Python application. Developing Python application. Within the editor, right? Within the editor. Developing Python application within the editor. Example within the editor like Notepad, right? Notepad. Open Notepad and type the following. Open Notepad and type the following Python statements. So up to now, we didn't see anything about Python, right? We didn't discuss anything about Python. Just I'll take two values like x as 10, y as 20. Two values I'll take. I want to perform some kind of arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? How to create a Python file and how to execute a Python file, right? So here open Notepad and type the following Python statements. X as 10, y as 20. Print is the statement for printing something on the output, right? X plus y, print x minus y, x into y. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? Print x into y, x by y, right? Okay. 10, 20, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So this code, whatever is that, just I'll copy it to a separate notepad file. I'll create a separate notepad file. Within this notepad file, I'll paste it. X is 10, y is 20. So this is what I've written some code, a Python statements within this notepad. Save it, save as, okay, file save. I created a separate folder for this batch yesterday. Fine. C drive like Python batch 10 a.m. Python batch 10 a.m. right? Okay. Here I'll save it as sample1.py. Sample1.py, right? Okay. I saved it with the name sample. Any name you can give .py extension, right? For C.C, for Java.java, for Python.py. Okay. Fine. So just I'm writing it. Save it as sample1.py and submit this file to how we are going to submit this file and submit this file to Python as go to the command prompt. Beta in this bottom search panel, type cmd and just go to the command prompt. Type Python, right? Give space. Don't say enter. If you say Python, if you say enter, you will go to the interactive mode. You need to work with, but I doesn't want to work with interactive mode. I want to work with batch mode. Writing batch of statements within the notepad, save as .py. Now that entire Python file, I need to submit it to Python. So give the location where your file is available. Where your file is available within the C drive. Okay. Python batch 10 a.m. This is that folder. give the folder name. C drive, give the folder name. And what is the file name? Sample1.py, right? Okay, the file name, the way it is present in which folder and in which drive. Give the entire path. Submit this Python file to Python. Say enter, it gives the result, right? Just observe. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? You got the output. So submitting this file to Python in this manner. Everyone install Python in your system? Anyone facing problem while installing Python? Yeah. Okay, fine. Understood now? How to install Python? Sorry, how to submit your Python? How to submit your Python file to Python? Right? Give that file .py within the Notepad. You create a file. The entire path where your file is available. Entire path you give to Python. Right? Okay. So Python within this Python file. Right? Okay. Fine. Here, what is your observation here? Okay, you are submitting this Python file. You are submitting this Python file, right? .py file you are submitting to Python. But what is your observation? You are writing. So here I am writing. But here we are writing the Python. But here we are writing the code at one place. At one place means in the Notepad. And executing at the other place. And executing at the other place, right? Means at command prompt. But to write and execute, we are writing the code at one place and executing at the other place, but to write and execute at the same place, we have IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment. So we have IDLE, which comes along with Python installation, using which we can work. So here, which comes along with Python installation, using which we can work with both interactive and batch mode, right? So here What is your observation just now? We are writing the code in the notepad, we are executing at the command prompt. Writing at one place, executing at other place. But I want to write and execute at the same place. Writing and executing at the same place. For that, we have got IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment, right? Which comes along with Python installation. So we no need to install it again, using which we can work with both interactive and batch mode. Now I'll show you how to open this IDLE and how to run your code and execute the code at the same place. I'll just copy the same code. Now, sir, how to open this IDLE and writing the code at the same place and executing the code at the same place. So go to the start programs. Whenever we install Python, right? See, go to the start programs and check for Python here. Python 3.9, 3.10, both versions are installed, right? So just open this Python 3.10, Python 3.10. What is the first thing we see here? IDLE, right? The first one, what we see? IDLE. Just open this IDLE. Python shell will be opened in this way. Python shell opens in this manner, right? In interactive mode. Can you see this 3-arrowed symbol here? You can type any valid statements and you can interact with it, right? But I want to work with batch mode, right? Batch of statements writing and saving and executing, right? So here file menu is there. File, new file. Say file, new file, and write your code here. Write your code here. Two values, x plus y, x minus y, x into y, x by y, right? And save it. File, save. Any name .py extension sample2.py. So here I'm writing the code here itself. I'll be executing here itself. Here run option is there. Can you observe here? Run. Click that run module. That's it. You got the 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? Ten plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. Understand? So here once again, just I'm closing this. So here itself you are writing the code. Here itself we can see this run option for executing, right? Run module. The shortcut is F5. To execute, the shortcut is F5. Run module. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 10 into 10 by 20, right? Understood. So just open this IDLE. It opens in interactive mode. Say file, new file. Write your Python statements. Save it by using .py. Save means control S, otherwise file save. Run model. Run option is there. Run it. Understood, everyone? Any queries here? So go to. So here just okay. Batch of statements you are writing simultaneously. Right? One here you are writing a batch of statements, set of statements, but not the statement by statement. I'm not expecting the result here, right? So here means batch mode means you will save the file as .py. In interactive mode, you are not going to save it. Directly you will type the statement and you will get the result. Here you will save it with some name. Here you will save with .py and you will run here. In interactive mode, no need to run or just is type your statement, say enter. You will get the response. Statement by statement. Fine. Okay. So this is what interactive mode and batch mode. Batch mode, generally for developing Python applications, we go for batch mode. So we have got IDEs in Python, right? We have also got IDEs. In real time, we go for IDEs, right? We need to download and we need to install that IDEs. So just I'll discuss those IDEs once we have done little bit of technical part. So just we didn't even start the basics of Python. So once we are done with the technical part, I'll just say how to download and how to install. Meanwhile, you can work with this ideally and execute your code, right? Next, entering into this basics of Python, right? Now, so in Python, no need to say like int x into y like that. Directly x equal to 10, y equal to 4.5. No need to say float y or string. Directly we'll say x as y as dynamic data types in Python. We have got dynamic data types in Python. I'll discuss. So next is like data types in Python. Data types in Python, right? So why this? Say every organization use case has got data and has got data and operations. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using data types are variables. Data types are variables, right? Operations represented using so every organization has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Okay. For example, any organization, I said, any organization has got data and operations. For example, take the example of a bank. Bank consists of customers and employees, right? Customers, employees. Customers has got data and operations. Data, operations. Data means like customer name, some Ajay, account number, balance. So this is what represented data represented using data types or variables. Data types are variables. This and operations. What are the various operations? Like deposit operation, withdraw operation, transfer operation. This operations is presented using functions. Later we discuss about functions. Now our discussion is data types or variables. Means we have got any organization. If you take any organization, it has got data and operations. Similarly, for employees also we have got data and operations. Employees data, employee operations. Employee data like employee ID 101, employee name James, salary some 70,000, designation manager. So this is data represented using data types are variables. Data types are variables, right? Data type. Operations using operations represented using, what are the employee operations like calculating tax, calculating the net salary. So these are represented using functions, right? So if you talk like any organization has got data and operations. If you take example of a bank, has got customers and employees. Customers has got the data and operations. Employees also data operations, right? Data represented using data types are very. Why we go for data types means for representing the data. If you take any data, right, like telecom data or insurance data, any kind of data. So how to represent the data? What are the data types required for this? And operations, what kind of operations? This might be okay. Understood? Data types. Customers data, customer name, account number, balance, customer operations, deposit, withdraw, transfer, employee data, ID, name, salary designation, and employee operations like tax and net salary. Fine. Okay. Okay. Next is like defining variables in Python. Defining the variables in Python. I'll come back to this data types, but before that, defining variables. So I'm going to discuss 4 cases to make you understand this, right? Case 1. Make a note of this, everyone. Defining variables, case 1. See, whenever you define a variable like x equal to 10, x equal to 10, right? No need to define the data type here. X internally, one object gets created. Internally, an object with value 10 gets created. Whenever you say x equal to 10, right? The 10 is stored somewhere in the memory, right? So here the 10, an object created, and it is going to occupy some physical memory location address. Assume this is the address where exactly the 10 is stored in the memory. So whenever you define x equal to 10, right? An object with value 10 gets created, it's going to have some address. This address is returned to x. Observe here, whenever you say x equal to 10, what x is storing means, don't say like x is storing 10. X stores the address. X stores the address. So here three things you need to understand. Whenever I say print X means it goes to the it prints the content, prints the content at that address. What is that value? 10. So whenever you say print X, right, it goes to that address. What is that? 1030 and prints that content at that address. What is the content? 10. If I want to print the address itself, print ID of X. Print ID of X. Prints the address of X. Understanding? So print X means it prints the content. Print, if you want to print the address where exactly it is stored. ID function, we have got ID of X, prints the address of X. Type of X, print type. Type of X means data type of X, prints the data type of X. Data type is what type? Integer type. Print X prints the content at that address. ID of X prints the address of X. Type of X prints the data type of X. Understood these 3 points, everyone? So one, print X means content is going to print. ID of X means address it is going to print. Type means data type. See in Python, data type means, okay, 1 second. See, generally in other programming language like C or C++ or Java, right? Compared with Python. In other programming language, if you want to define some variable, you will say like int x equal to 10 or float y equal to 4.5. If you want to give something in decimals, you will say float y int x. If you want to give something in characters, right? String z equal to some HELLO, right? This is what in other programming languages. In Python, dynamic data types. Dynamic data types. No need to say like data type defined. Directly you can say like x as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. No need to give that data types. But observe here what kind of variable x is means here you have defined integer, so it is integer variable. Y is what kind of variable means float variable. Z is string variable. But here x is what kind of variable? X is what kind of variable means what value you have assigned to it? Integer value. So integer variable is going to get created dynamically during runtime. Y equal to 4.5. What kind of variable y is? Float. Why it is float? You have assigned a float value to it. Means there is a function called type function in Python. Type of y, it is float type. Why it is float? You have assigned a float value to it. Means what value you are assigning to it, depending upon that, the variable gets created dynamically. That is what dynamic data types. No need to say int x or float y like that. If you are assigning an integer value, integer variable creates. If you are assigning a float value, float variable creates. If you are assigning a string, string variable created. That is what dynamic data types. So we no need to specify this. Directly say x as 10, y as 4.5. So if you want to know the type of y, it is float. Type of x, integer. Type of z, string. Understood now? Dynamic data types. based on the value assigned. Based on the value assigned. The variable creates dynamically. Gets created dynamically. Based on the value assigned, right? The variable gets created dynamically. We don't need to specify. Understood? So this is in other programming, this is in Python. So what value, if you are assigning some list of values, then the type will be list type. We have got collection and collection secondary data types, right? List of values. If you are assigning some tuple of values, that will be tuple, right? Later I discuss this. So no need to specify this data types. Now observe here. Coming back. So case one, I was discussing case one, right? Whenever you say x is 10, understood now what is type of x? Yes. Type of x means what type? You assign what value? Integer value. So that it is integer type. This is the output. This is the address. This is the content. Okay, fine. Now observe this case two now. So I want the sessions to be interactive now. So we are entering into the technical part right now. So I want everyone to respond here. So if I got x as 10, y as 20, two variables, observe here, x as 10, y as 20. How many objects gets created? Two objects, right? One for 10. Whenever x equal to 10, one object with value 10 and one more object with value 20. So it has got some address. The address is written to x. It has got some address. That address is written to y. Now try to say what is print x? Print x. Print x means the content. It goes to that address and prints the content. What content is there? 10. ID of x. Address. If you want to print the address, ID of x. If you want to print the content, print x. If you want to print the type of x, what type it is? Why it is int? Because you have assigned a integer value to x, so it is integer type. Type of x is int type. Similarly, print y. Print y is 20. Address of y, where exactly it is stored? 104080. Type of y. Type of y, what type? Integer type, right? Understood. So here, what is your observation? Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects gets created with two different addresses. Understood, everyone? Make a note of this. Important. So if they ask the questions, right, for freshers in Python, if I want to print the address of a variable, what we use? What function is used? Means here ID. Can you see here ID? ID function, right? If you want to print that what data type it is in Python, what is the function? Type function for type for address ID. Okay, fine. Now observe this case 3. Now observe this case 3. Now try to answer for this. X value is 10, Y value is 10. How many objects gets created? So here observe carefully, only one object gets created. One object with value 10. One object with value 10, it has got some address. This address is given to X. Up to here, fine, right? One object got created. Before creating the object for Y, right? Y equal to, first it checks any object with value 10 is already available. If available, the same address will be given to Y. One more object with value 10 won't create. If X value 10, Y value 10, Z value 10, don't think that 3 objects with value 10 gets created. Before creating Y, it will check any object with value 10 available. If available, the same address it will give. Otherwise, if not available only, it will create that object. If X is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30. How many objects created? 3 objects. If X is 10, Y is 10, Z is 10. How many objects? Only one object. And the address is given to X, Y, and Z. These things you need to understand. I'll show you all these things practically in the tomorrow session, right? All this. First observe this, what happens internally. I'll show you practically tomorrow what happens if you define. So simple. If the values are same, one object. If the values are different, different objects. 10, 20, 30, 3 objects. 10, 10, 10, one object, right? Fine. So here X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content 10, they are sharing the same address. They are sharing the same content and the address. Print X, if you say like that, print Y or print Z. So they are printing what? 10 only. The address also same addresses. Type, all the type are integer type. Type of X, type of Y, type of Z. Integer type. If the contents are same, one object. If the contents are different, multiple objects are created. Right? Fine. Now observe this case 4. X is 10 and X is 20. X is 10, X is 20. How many objects here? 2 objects with 10 with some address. Okay. For 20, one object with some address. Up to here, it is fine up to here, right? But print X. If you say print X, now what is the X value it prints? Everyone. Try to answer. X is 10, X is 20. Print X. Now what is the X value it prints? Whether it will print 10 or 20 or both. Your salary last year 50,000. Your salary this year 80,000. Will it print both or it will print the current salary? Current salary, right? Here also X value is 10, X value is 20. It always prints the latest one. So If X is 10, X is 20, it always prints the latest value. Okay, now print X, okay, print 20. Print address, ID of X. What is the ID of X? 104080. It prints this, right? Type anyhow, it will be like integer type. Type of X is integer type. Okay, now observe. Fine, right? But I want a query here. What happens to this previous? Can I print, if I say print X for 10 times, print X, print X, print X for 10 times, it will print 20 only, right? Is there any possibility of printing that value of previous X? What happens to the previous X? What happens to this previous, this one? Is it available, not available, or it gets removed? So if available, can I print this 10 or not? Understanding. So this case 4. Fine. So this gets removed. The previous one gets removed. Only this X equal to 20 is only available, right? X equal to 20. Whenever you say X equal to 10, X equal to 20, whenever you define that value with same X only, the previous one will be removed and this new one gets created. That's why if you say print X, it always prints 20. Understood these 4 cases, everyone? In the first case, only one variable you are defining. Okay. To print the content 10. To print the address, this is that. Type integer. In the case 2, two variables with different values, then different objects gets created with different addresses. Their contents are different, their addresses are different. In case 3, 3 values, right? So with same values 10, 10, 10, only one object and its address is given to X, Y, and Z. And case 4, X is 10, X is 20. X is 10, X is 20. So when you are saying the previous one gets removed and the new one gets created, right? Understood. So these 4 cases I'll be showing you practically tomorrow, right? So hope you understood today, like interactive mode, batch mode, how to develop an application in batch mode within the notepad, how to write, and also within the ideally writing at the same place and executing at the same place, right? Later I'll show you in IDEs, real-time IDEs, how we can in Jupyter Notebook, in Spider, in PyCharm, how to develop this. Same, the coding won't be changed. The coding remains the same, but only the environment. And also I said Python statements, they are not that much lengthy, very less coding. Compare with any other program code, 1/4 coding you see as compared with other programming. And that's what I was saying yesterday, the reasons why Python is suddenly super popular in today's industry. And the statements also look like normal English statements. Yesterday I was showing you some graphs also, right? How that look, how simple it looks and easily understandable, right? They look like normal English statements. Fine. Okay. And also this how to define data types and how to define the variables. 4 cases I said. So these things I'll be saying. And tomorrow, like fundamental data types in Python, one by one. So more discussion on the strings. String, what is string, string indexing, string slicing, string functions, string methods, string special characters. So we'll be discussing a lot on that strings. Integer floats, okay, normally you know what is integer float, right? So after that I'll be discussing like input and output statements in Python, how to accept, enter a value of X, whatever you enter, that value should be taken by X. You're saying X equal to 10, but not like enter value for X, whatever value the user enters, that should be taken by X, accepting input from the keyboard. And okay, so for today I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow with these practicals of these 4 cases and fundamental data types. Any queries from your side? Anyone? Fine. So in the same way, in the coming topics, right, whenever we are writing, right, I want you everyone to respond, right? I want the sessions to be interactive. Fine. So how actively you are responding, in the same way I will be delivering the class, right? So both the side, fine. Whether your answers are correct or wrong, keep responding. So whether I want to give more examples or not, based upon your, I will come to know about your understanding from your response, right? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. And make your software ready, Python. Okay, the video, everyone received the yesterday's video, right? No one has received. Anyone received? No? Everyone are in the group. In the group it is kept, right, in the afternoon itself yesterday. Once check in your group yesterday evening only, at 3 o'clock yesterday. Okay, once again I'll post all that videos, right? The demo video and yesterday's video, right? Okay, fine. Okay, I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Fine.